the case of SELF, when we were experimenting with accountability, elected people being accountable to the electorates, that's what we're trying to teach them. The World Food Program told me in the meeting, formal meeting, we are not here to engage in democracy. We're here to do relief. So all this thing about people padding the log and ghost houses, that's a different issue. At that point, we started talking about UNDP now stepping in to take responsibility for funding these micro elections. And I remember the late Dexter Tyre and Philip Banks, who is now Justice Minister. One group went to him and said, it's Blamo Nelson and people that are stealing our food. So Minister Banks at one point had the oversight for relief. They cited us to the mansion. And the community that was complaining went in and made their case. Their complaint was, we had inflated the list, we meaning the leadership of SELF, including myself. I sat there patiently and they made their case to Mr. Banks. The UN people were there. After the guy sat down, I just simply went up and asked him, where is the list of the structures? And they produced it. And I said, who are the team leaders that signed this? He was one of them, the guy who was the spokesman. He signed this list. Do you see my signature on that list? No. Was I there when you guys were coming to the houses? No. So how now you say that I inflated this list? Right there, people dismissed him. It's the same type of concept that we're trying to introduce with this corruption bill.
But you do agree, though, that such practices did occur, though?
The inflating of the list?
Yeah.
Of course it did. The question was, who is doing it?
What measures were in place to put a check to such?
So you have brought a complaint that this team has inflated your list. There'll be election next week. Just vote him out of office. Because the UN system was not interested in punishing those that are doing it, because that's not their mandate. On relief matters, you can't punish people, you can't put them in jail, you can't beat them up. So the only thing we could do is to remove them. If you're going to remove someone, remove him through the election process, and the Carter Center came and provided the money. The citizens went back into elections. In some cases, the guys that frauded the list were re-elected. For me, and I kept telling the UN people this, we have to do this over and over again. In other places, they threw them out. In other communities, they threw them out completely. And the thing was taken home when the relief program stopped. Had we continued by now, it would be perfect. We need to do the same thing at a larger society. People are doing all sorts of things. So, again, reform.
Okay, maybe we should just go back a little bit, again, down memory lane.
Oh, before you come in, I remember Dexter Tyre was invited to Washington, D.C. On the eve of his departure for the United States, the Observer came up with a hell of a big story. Fraud in relief program, ghost houses, and they were using numbers now, 3,000 ghost houses on list. And Mr. Tyre took the newspaper and went to Washington. Prior to his departure, he summoned me to the mansion, and he complained about the ghost names on the list and all of that. And I told him the way to do this is to educate our people and clean it. And he was so upset, he went to Washington. They invited him to State Department. And when he got to State Department, he presented the newspapers as evidence that there is fraud. The whole relief program in Liberia is fraud. What he did not know is that the donors had their agents on the ground, and they knew that it was not the leadership that was engaged in this fraud. It was the people. So the people in Washington told him, okay, what we'll do, we'll introduce self-targeting food. What is that? Because at that time, rice was the main commodity. Self-targeting food was Buckwheat. Liberians like to eat rice. They don't like Buckwheat. Even the Buckwheat is good for the health, but they don't like Buckwheat. So the Buckwheat, they were not engaged in all this level of cheating with Buckwheat. The next shipment that came, some 30,000 tons. Instead of 30,000 tons of rice, it became 30,000 tons of Buckwheat. By that time, Mr. Tyre had returned to Monrovia. Amelia Ward was Minister of Planning. The ship came and docked at the port. As usual, they will call us to inform us that the ship is here now. Loading is supposed to start in 2 days' time. Mr. Tyre went to the meeting called by Amelia Ward. I was there too, the UN system. And Mr. Tyre said he is not a pig to eat Buckwheat. So the man from the embassy said, all right, so we take the ship back. People need food in Rwanda. We had to beg and beg. Amelia Ward, myself, and others had to beg the Americans. The people needed food. Don't listen to Tyre. And they offloaded the Buckwheat. A week later, we started distributing Buckwheat. One day, Tyre called me to say that somebody took a Buckwheat and he wanted Buckwheat back. What I'm trying to say here is, when transparency begins to unfold itself, you have to be strong enough to understand what is happening. Tyre was not strong. He went to the Americans and told them the whole thing is fraud. Read the newspapers today. We've got a long way to go. Madam Selim is trying to get the world community to write off how many billions? Some 4 billion debt on this nation. And every day against behind Madam Selim is corruption, fraud, corruption, fraud. Who is this corruption and fraud business? We are undermining the efforts that Madam Selim is making. Now, is there fraud taking place? Yes. Corruption taking place? Yes. How do we present this so that it does not undermine our larger interest? You cannot cover this up. So speak the truth, and the truth will set you free. Dexter Tyre thought that he had a case, and Tyre's intention was to destroy Blamo Nelson. This Nelson man is becoming too powerful, running the biggest NGO in the country. This man setting the stage to become president tomorrow. So for him, those newspapers would have done the trick. He went to Washington, told the Americans, you see what Nelson is doing? He is running a corrupt system. I said, okay, then we'll send Buckwheat. Madam Selim leave from here, and all the newspapers are nothing but fraud and corruption and fraud and corruption.
Okay.
I am not a member of the administration. I'm in opposition.